Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Triple Tap. This is episode number 58 and I'm doing this little recording, this pre-recording, because I do apologize, everybody. Very silly, after all these episodes that I have done, I forgot to hit the record button on tonight's show. So we did capture it just before halfway through. So tonight you're only going to be hearing half of the show we actually did with Roland Chrystal, which I'm about to lead you into. So I do apologize humbly. Please forgive me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the interview that we did with Roland Chrystal. So enjoy that and we'll see you next time.
A lesson that we should have learned that somehow we haven't learned because we've been too distracted.
Yeah. I'd like to get back on track with the corruption high up, and I'm going to add in a different phrase other than that, because I do agree with what you said, Roland. We look, I've got Queensland coppers who talk to me all the time, and currently the new batch of little police hatchlings coming through the academy are experiencing a great amount of change management. And those officers who are in the police academy are trying to hold on to their jobs. They're trying to impress their bosses and train them with this new ideology. And the new ideology is to utterly reject anyone who tries to explain to them anything about deaths related to the vaccine and injuries related to the vaccine. And officers who are in the training system, if they talk to anyone about that and encourage any of the new trainees to open their eyes and take a look at what you're talking about, their career's over. So that's the type of lack of morality that is existing. And they're bringing, and of course now, they'll take almost anyone who's willing to be a police officer.
Yeah, I think you've just got to have a pulse, haven't you?
Pretty much. When I went in,
no morality.
When I went in '93, there were 9,000 applicants and they accepted 120 of us.
Mm.
And these days, they can't get it. They can't even
There's
fill
120
get
applicants
enough
and
applicants.
9,000 vacancies.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you think that they're going to try and create a situation where they're going to bring back the conflict between the general police and the rank and file members of society? Do you think there'll be a round two of this?
I think there's many pages to go in this playbook, and if these people maintain the decision-making hand, if they maintain power, then we have a long way to go. I think COVID or convid, whichever one you like to call it, was really just the preparatory stage. I don't think it was really anything more than that. It was just a measure. I mean, obviously it had many functions. Nothing is ever just for a sole purpose, as we know. But I think that was just an initial warm-up. So, yeah, there will be, if they get to play their hand continuously, then we have many pages to go in this playbook, and there will be greater expectation upon the serving police to engage in more thuggery and tyranny. I have no doubt of that.
So should we be actively looking to engage with the police in positive dialogue, as in, should we be collecting the information and putting it in a well-written complaint so that someone's going to look at this and say, well, here's a well-thought-out complaint. Look at the statistics here. is there a crime going on here?
We see the first police officer in New South Wales to speak up was former senior constable Alex Cooney.
Yeah.
All credit to him. And he produced a document that did exactly that. And that was right before we had all this excess mortality. There was a wealth of evidence even back then, as we know. That didn't make any difference at all. My feeling on where we've got to try and reach police officers is at a grassroots level. So every officer has family, every officer has friends, cousins. So for the good people who are listening to this message, who know police officers, it's time to have that grassroots chat. But go in with knowledge, go in prepared, but go in with humility and try and have that chat where you can drop the egos, you can break down the barriers, you can just have a person-to-person discussion. But I think it's going to have to be at that level, because anything officially will be very, very heavily looked at and very heavily censored.
Roland, I'm of the opinion that if I can put together, if I could get together a team of ex-police who resigned over this and left, if I could get them to put some time in and we could start talking with the police, because we've all got mates who are still in. And if we can find a way, because look, coppers respect others with more service than they do. They just do.
Yep.
Okay. And they respect people who at least have 10 years and on. Is there merit in getting the police in putting out a call for the police who left to put a team together to analyse all of the law, all of the bullshit laws that are un-Australian, that our current governments through the states and the federal government are putting out? If we could analyse those and then speak plainly to the police about what laws are coming in, because as you're aware, coppers on the street, like I've had a few chats with new police in Queensland, they've no idea about the Health Act. They've no idea that the premiers have utilised the Health Act to empower the councils around this country, and that they've put the CEOs of the councils in charge of calling the next pandemic. It's no longer in Queensland and also in Western Australia. It's no longer the responsibility of the chief health officer. It's the responsibility of the CEO of the council to decide whether or not there's a pandemic. Now, coppers don't know that. And if we could start a campaign to educate them about the rubbish and the un-Australian laws, and not just them, the rest of the public, I wonder if that could be, part of the attack, part of the, I don't want to use the word attack. I wonder if that would be a useful tool in educating our people.
Look, I think it would, Ken. I think that's a good idea. And through Cops for Truth, we can help facilitate that, because we do have a core group of such officers who may be quite willing to come on board in that venture, and we can certainly discuss that. And to be able to put out a product that again, family members can just sit down with a serving officer, or the serving officer may in their own time have a look at it. Yeah, I think there's merit in that.
Yeah.
I want to just shift gears, or while we're talking about laws and things like that, if you could just give us a little bit of information on the Disinformation Bill.
Well, I wish we all could know a bit more about that. What I've been able to gauge so far is simply that it is just yet another draconian tool that is being proposed. And when they propose legislation, it's fairly rare that it doesn't go through. They don't draft this stuff simply to burn up a bit more time and paper. So they have every intention, but it is something that Australians need to look at in terms of, the 40,000-foot view. You can't look at anything that's happening on an individual basis, be it mandates for the vaccines, be it masks, lockdowns, the Disinformation Bill, anything like that. It needs to be all viewed holistically and to try and identify a pattern. And one of the things I've said to people is we need to go back to the process of dot to dot, because now we have so many dots on the page in front of us. It's drawing a very, very clear picture. So I don't know if that's a skill that they stopped teaching maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, where kids no longer did dot to dot. But there's a very clear picture now drawn for all of us with digital currencies, with the 15-minute cities, with electric vehicles, with 5G system, with just the whole raft of things. If you look at anyone individually, I think you're missing the fact that there is a much bigger picture. So with this Disinformation Bill, this is just a very clear draconian step to try and silence those of us who have an alternative view. Now, if you look at the fact that Australia was one of the countries that helped forge the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, one of those human rights is that we should have free and open exchange of information on any platform without interference. Now, just so many of our basic human rights under that agreement have just been thrown to the gutter. People need to start to become aware that what's happening is a broad spectrum attack on not only our health but on our freedoms, and one of our most vital freedoms is to be able to speak our mind.
So you're right, everything's been captured. That's the situation that we're in. So you look at the government, the bureaucracy, the churches. These are all infiltrated by people who are bad actors. And it really come home to me the other day that how asleep some people are. Now, I live this stuff 24/7, 365 days a year. And I think I know what is on about and what's motivating people. My son, who lives in the same house as me, a week ago brought me a TikTok video showing news anchors and sport athletes all over the world collapsing. And he's shown it to me in complete awe. And I said, mate, that's 12 months old. And you wouldn't watch it the first time I showed it to you because it wasn't on TikTok. And this is where people live. And this is why these guys are so far behind. So if I say to this younger generation, right, 5G is a weapon. They're going to shut down free speech and they're going to say it's for everyone's good. They're not drawing that conclusion yet. And this is a broad representation of society. So we really have to pick up our game on how we're getting this message out and the number of people that we interact with, because we're in a bubble. And the people
correct.
on the outside of that bubble aren't seeing what we're seeing.
Yep, I totally agree with you, Lance. And that bubble has been formed, as we know, over lifetimes. Our whole lives, this bubble's been in preparation. So us in our 50s, you look at the ones who are only in their teens and 20s and 30s, and that bubble's a lot thicker and a lot stronger because it's been formed around them more rapidly. So it's a very clever and very broad spectrum attack that is not easy to break through. And then when you talk about trying to break through that bubble for police officers, serving police officers, there's an extra coat on that bubble. That makes it a very difficult nut to crack. Not impossible.
No. So I think the message has to be, though, that we have to remain peaceful above all else. That's the way to win this war. This is going to turn out to be a Harry Potter moment where he killed the bad guy with love, and it's something that our enemy doesn't comprehend. and they
Absolutely.
can't calculate for it.
I think they're waiting for everyone to arc up, aren't they? And because if we remain in, like you said at the beginning, in love and compassion and understanding and do it all peacefully, you know, we can do it. Okay, so good question here. What is Cops for COVID? Because I did put the link up when you talked about Cops for Truth. I looked it up, Cops for COVID Truth on Telegram. What do they want to achieve, and how can we best work with them?
Yeah, so that website was started, Cops for COVID Truth, obviously when the main issue was COVID.
Yep.
Our Telegram page is just Cops for Truth, and we'll move forward as Cops for Truth because obviously the issues are broader. We are looking to redevelop and work with that site more so we can get back to you on that. And I'd be keen, as I said, to work in with Kent on his proposal. Initially, the point of Cops for COVID Truth was simply to have a place where people could review the mindset of police and former police officers who wished to raise their concerns on a public platform. So there is more work to be done there, and I say we will be looking to redevelop that.
So if anyone's looking for that, it is on Telegram. The announcement channel is called Cops for Truth. Their handle, though, is still Cops for COVID Truth, so I can see them both there. So if you're looking for that, we did put that link in the chat there for you guys. So while we're talking on another hot topic in the last part of the interview, the voice obviously is another big hot topic coming up. And obviously there was a map recently that went around that it was like a resounding no versus yes right across Australia. So do you want to talk a little bit about the voice?
Yeah, the voice. Well, I think all you need to do is listen to what many of our Indigenous people are saying, and not the ones who are walking the streets with the politicians wearing a yes shirt, but the ones who have very credible, in-depth knowledge of their nations and the land. And I know you guys are doing a lot of good work there, which is just fantastic. I've been speaking with Bruce Shillingsworth, and I hope to get back in touch with Bruce soon. But he has some wonderful ideas as to how the nation can move forward. But he's a very resounding, very strong no, because, as you know, you can't have 25 people represent 500 nations or thereabouts. And we all must be surely very concerned of the fact that so little detail has been released. And it comes at a time where we're only on the coattails of Klaus telling us that by 2030 we'll own nothing and be happy. Now, if they're putting that out there, which they have, what's the mechanism? There must be a legal mechanism being put in place to start to remove our ability to hold property. We know from the UN, from Agenda 21, that private home ownership is allegedly unsustainable. So, the documents are all there. It's all in writing before us. So there must be a mechanism.
Roland, the UN has also said that it's we've got to start to teach young children that an adult that wants to have sex with an underage child is a minor attracted person. They've also said that. So I think those two things undermine their credibility a fair bit, don't you?
You would like to think so, wouldn't you? I mean, I really don't know how they have any credibility anymore. They've shown themselves to be anything but uniting. They certainly don't represent any of the good standards and morals that our society is based upon.
So I'm going to say that you're right, but that's also the one side of the story that they want to portray through the leadership in the UN and through the media, which we know are both controlled operations. So I believe, with good information, that the UN is in open conflict as we speak.
Within itself.
Within itself, about the direction that it's taking. So we're all in this war, and there's good people in every organization. So, and it's always the minority that try and destroy the family unit for their own sick purposes. And it's okay. It's okay to be woke, and it's okay. Look, I'm the first to admit, if someone is gay or lesbian, that's their private business. I'm never gonna try and judge them or interfere with the way they choose to live their life. But when you try and drive it down my throat, then I'm going to drive my sexual preference down your throat and say, well, I'm heterosexual. I love my God. I try and honor his word, and the family unit is sacred to me because that's my belief system. And if that puts me in conflict with people that want to promote transgender entertainers in Victorian Parliament to young children, then I'll always be against that, because that is nothing to do with privacy or sexual orientation. That is, it's a sickness, and it needs to be treated as a sickness and recognized as a sickness. These people are sick. Sick people need help, and it is our job to help these people. So I would like to say something on The Voice. Our elections are completely rigged. We know it. The Labor government was put into power with 36% of the vote counted. Albanese was on a plane in warp speed to get to
Morrison.
the world. Hey?
Morrison or Albanese?
Albanese.
Oh, yeah.
Was on the plane in warp speed to get over to the World Economic Forum and all of his mates.
Oh, yeah.
So over to the WHO meeting. So for me, and this is what I firmly believe, don't power them up with a yes vote or a no vote. This thing is created for division. They are trying to, if they don't get the yes vote, then they're going to try and divide the country on a racist issue. So for me, what I'll be doing personally, I'll be getting my name crossed off the roll. I'll be taking the ballot paper for the referendum with me, and I'll be leaving. They're going to rig it anyway, but we shouldn't participate in something that we know is criminal activity, because that makes us all criminals. My advice is get together with people who are doing the right thing. We're going to achieve far more. That's my thoughts.
Excellent. That's just why we take a few moments just to give an update, because obviously what we're doing with the sovereign nations ties in, with our solution, I guess, against The Voice and all that. Can we just give our listeners just a really quick update on how we're going with covering Australia with sovereign nations? Because I know we're about to just about finish another one, which is very exciting, and we've got a couple more being worked on at the moment. So just want to give a little bit of update on that, just while we're on the topic of The Voice.
Maybe. I've been pretty fortunate. I've had a very significant elder at my house for the last 3 days now, and we've had a wonderful time together. And I can absolutely assure you, I've spent lots of time recently with other tribal elders in Victoria, all over the place. I was in I'm thinking Cunnamulla, but it's not Cunnamulla, it's Goondiwindi the other day in a community. They do not want this voice. Tanya Plebiscite tried to offer them $40,000 to give back the water licensing rights for the Murray-Darling Basin. They told her, no, we don't want your money. They're sick of the handouts. They want to be part of this great experiment called Australia. They see their place here. They want to join with us. We have tribal nations all over Australia standing up now, doing their paperwork to form effective government, like the Yidinji, the Birragubba, the Githable. We've got some great southern tribes coming together that have populations of probably close to 10 million people in one tribal nation, encompassing Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Hobart in one tribal nation. The Larrakia
and WA.
and WA, the Larrakia which is the biggest tribal nation in the top of Australia, 1,600 tribes is coming together under one group. They know this time is right. They know our backs are to the wall. They stand side by side with us, with love in their heart. We have collectively genocided these people for 235 years, and yet they're still willing to stand beside us and to share the power of a nation that has never ceded, never sold, never treated. So I wish we were that forgiving, and they're prepared to extend this to us, and that's a great honor and a great responsibility. And we're going to get it done, guys. We're going to have an alternative. We're going to have a safety mechanism. We're going to have law, and we're garnering international support that is quite incredible. So watch this space.
Cool, Lance. While we're talking about the voice, we had a question come in. The tribes that are standing up in one tribal nation, if the voice passes, which Albanese said he's going to pass it, whether he likes it or not, what will that look like?
So we all know that Australia is Norfolk Island, and we live on
Terra Australis.
Terra Australis. Now, these tribes can trace their history back according to the best science, which who knows that that's true anymore, 65,000 years. So first in time, best in law. They are forming recognized internationally nations. So Yidinji Nation is a nation. A state they don't recognize. The government of Australia is outside of their nation. It's foreign to them. And same as all of these other tribal nations, the Commonwealth of Australia will be foreign. But they've said we need a warm, fuzzy blankets to keep us all safe, to run a military, to run border security, to run telecommunications. So they're saying we can come together. We can keep that governing blanket, the Commonwealth, so that all people can share in their birthright. So they want that. So that's how it works. These governments that we give power to have the power of a gun, but not law. We know the courts are corrupt, right? We know the police are functioning as best they can in a completely cooked system. Bar members are, they take an oath to the bar, not to their clients. So there's no truth there. It's only money. They're in it for the money, guys. They're the milkers and we're the cattle. And that's their job.
Interesting comment in the chat for you, Lance, as you were talking about what you're doing with the polling. It says, Lance, by getting your name ticked off the poll, you have then entered into the crime. By not placing a vote, you then give the yes vote more votes and the ability to gain traction. Any comments for that?
Yeah, well, look, they're going to get whatever vote they want. And I said, this is what I would do personally. Personally, you guys can do whatever you want. I don't see a crime in getting crossed off the roll, so I don't get fined by a belligerent foreign occupation. But I will not honour it by putting that ballot into the ballot box. If they want to cheat, they can cheat without my vote.
Look, I think it's interesting what Ainsley said also. Albanese has said even if he loses this, he's going to put it in place anyway. Okay? So I don't know how he's going to do that because... But they're already proceeding at the moment as if they give people a voice. Interestingly, when I ask people on the street, do you feel that you have a voice with the Australian government? They laugh at me. There are no Australians who genuinely believe that they have a voice and have input into how this country is governed. And when I speak to Aboriginal elders and to just general people who are members of the tribe and ask them, do they think that this voice will mean anything? No, they have no faith in the government either. And they don't believe that it will actually benefit them in any way. And now Albanese has been forced to admit that the only reason they are running this voice is because he has, not just him, but it has been acknowledged in law that the Australian federal government, and let's remember it's no longer called the Commonwealth government, it's the Australian federal government, have no authority to actually write law for Australian Aboriginal people. They just don't have the power to write law for them. It's the biggest fraud ever. And the fact is they want them, and they want everyone to agree to this fraud and to these shenanigans even further with a fake referendum to try to give them some type of substance, some type of facade that they can write law for the Australian Aboriginals. That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, so it'll go like this. They'll pass the voice, then they'll do a fake treaty with the corporate tribes who have no authority.
Yep.
No law, no culture. And then they will become a republic, and then we will enter communism. And if people are happy to sit around and do communism, then they can, right? And I think you're going to find there's lots of Aussies, like during COVID, who just want to roll up their sleeve and protect everyone else with 4 shots of a bioweapon. So that's the situation we're in, guys. And we can get active and work, or we can hope that something better is going to come along, and maybe we'll get saved by aliens. maybe there's good guys spraying good chemicals to counteract the bad guys spraying bad chemicals. But I can tell you something, it didn't work out too well for the people in Maui.
No.
But maybe that was the white hats, guys. You know?
Who knows? Who knows? Roland, yeah. I'd like to give you a chance to, leave our listeners with any, final words of wisdom, or if you've got anything else you'd like to share with us. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left of the call this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Ainsley. Look, right from the very start of stepping out publicly, I've tried to encourage people to understand that, people such as yourselves, other people on the stage who are speaking up, be it your Graham Hoods, John Larders, Dave O'Neiggs, whoever, we're not your heroes. It's very important that each and every person who listens to this message understands we're not your heroes, guys. We are there to help shine a light, maybe give a bit of encouragement and direction, but the hero resides within each and every one of you. Now, all of us come to this situation with varying skills and degrees of preparedness. My 31 years of policing prepared me for certain things. It certainly didn't prepare me for what I'm involved in now. And I had no intention to get involved in this. And that's how many of us arrived at this location. We just felt the urge to stand up. But when you stand up, courage encourages more people to show courage. But what's very important, and I think as a parting thought, people need to realize that nice people comply. And we are nice people, but that's to our own detriment. We don't need nice people in these very hard times. We need good people. Okay, and there's actually a difference there, because we understand that evil thrives where good people do nothing, and that's what has happened. There are many good people out there, but a lot of you are doing absolutely nothing. You're sitting there and you're expecting people like the ones here on this platform and other people who are speaking up, you're expecting them to do all the heavy lifting for you while you sit back. And the hero resides within each and every one of you, and each and every one of you have a role to play. If you can see what's going on, if you can see through the fog of war here, and you understand at least some of what's going on, then there's a duty upon you to stand up and do your bit. And silence is consent. Make no mistake about that. Your silence is your consent. And so there's no time left for silence. You've got to stand up. You've got to awaken the hero within. You've got to get involved.
Absolutely. So game was never won by sitting on the sidelines. We've got to get on the game, play the game, get in and kick a few goals. So
Absolutely.
Kent, what about you guys? Would you like to share, leave any words of wisdom this evening?
I wish I had some words of wisdom. Roland, I'm really supportive of the work that you're doing. I've watched one of the comments. We need similar organisations. We need nurses for truth. We need doctors for truth. We've got to, and I would love to see all these organisations get together and have a national leadership meeting and see if we can. But there's a lot of work to be done. I can't wait to catch up with you again soon. And I just want to reiterate, my faith is in the people in this group, the people in the country who are waking up, and the man upstairs who's leading us. My faith is that we can win this. And I can't wait to just keep working in it. It gives me hope. It gives me strength. And I'm certain that we can win this. Look, if we can't beat Albanese, we need our asses kicked around our heads. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Kent. What about you, Lance?
I'm going to say it's been a pleasure having Roland on. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. I absolutely agree with what Kent said, 100%. We don't need heroes. We are the heroes. This war is already won. It's up to every one of you guys how much pain you want to experience before we get across the finish line. They can't win. They know they can't win. They've brought this whole program forward. Right? They're rushing it. They're out of time. It's time we take them down. And it's that simple. And the easiest way to take them down is to, in your mind, believe you live in a different system. And then you'll make the change. And it comes with that self-belief that you're strong enough to do this. We're better off taking a little bit of pain now than pain for the next 20 years if we drag this out. So we get on, we get it wrapped up, and we stand together. We really were created to take care of ourselves and to accept that responsibility. Where we get into trouble is putting our faith in these imbecilic morons that we call politicians. Because honestly, they are the bottom of the barrel. They're the dregs, right? That's what you scrape off the floor if you lock the dog in the house. Okay, these are really, really sick, evil, incompetent people.
Yep.
We can do better, and we need to do better. And thanks everybody for being on.
Excellent. Thank you, Kent. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Roland. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And guys, I must apologize. In 58 episodes, I forgot to start the recording when I first started, but thanks to a guest who did ask if we were recording this, I managed to capture it about just before halfway through. So, Roland, I do apologize. We missed the first part, but we hopefully got all the good crux of the conversations in the second half. So we will get the recording up and get that out. My brain is just a bit fuzzy. I have a loved one in hospital at the moment, so my brain is just all over the show right now. So, guys, I do apologize. I give a big shout out to him if he's listening. I haven't checked if he's on the call, but we don't know. He's always my number one fan because he always loves listening to these shows and supports me 100%. So just like you all do, I want to thank you for joining us on Triple Tap. Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Lance. And we'll see you next time on Triple Tap. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Roland.
Bye-bye.